this is your pre-brief video. It's really important to prepare for interview, because if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. So we advise all our candidates, no matter what kind of interview you're going forward for, is to work in this way and prepare in this way so that you have the best interview experience. So what we suggest you do is research the company, research the job that you're applying for, and maybe look at other people who are doing similar jobs in that company, because you will then get a flavour for kind of what they're looking for, what kind of background they're looking for, and then be able to tailor your prep accordingly. Also, make sure that you research and look up the interviewers on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great tool for that, but you can also Google them and make sure that you just are aware of their background, because you may well find some common ground that you can then bring up at interview to help break the ice, which is always a good technique to use. Next stage is to prepare your competency-based answers to interview questions. Most interview questions will be open questions, expecting the story of your example rather than a straight yes or no, which is a closed question. And most open questions start with how, what, why, tell me about, explain more. So you've got a good opportunity to be able to explain more about what you can offer them in relation to the job. And we recommend you using the STAR technique, which is an acronym for situation, task, action, result. And we will show you how to do that in the next video. What I've done is I've asked Kim, our talent coordinator, to help me give you some examples of the STAR technique. So we're going to do 3 examples, and what we've done is we've extracted these from candidates that we've actually placed. So it will give you a live example of things that other people have said during interview. Number 1, talk to me about a challenge you've had in the workplace and how you've overcome it.
All right. So my situation was I was working at an event that hosted over 6,000 people, and my task was there was a fireworks show that was planned to go off, but none of the paperwork or relevant health and safety task had been completed. So my action was I sought out and located an external third-party health and safety officer and made sure that between the two of us, all the health and safety regulations had been completed and accounted for. And the result was that on the race day, everything went smoothly and according to relevant compliances.
Beautiful. So what you would do with that, once you've had your situation, task, action, result, you would then blend it together so that it tells the story of your example. So do you want to blend it together now, Kim, to give people an idea of how to do it?
Yeah. So when I was working at an event that hosted over 6,000 people, we had a fireworks show that was planned to go off, but none of the relevant health and safety compliances had been completed. So in order to solve this, I located an external third-party health and safety officer, and between the two of us we were able to sort out all the regulations, and on the day itself everything went according to plan with no issues.
Brilliant. How do you manage and prioritise tasks?
Yeah, so the situation was during my time at university I directed a play, and my task was, during this time I was obviously still a full-time student, so I had to balance my studies with the demands of the play. So in order to cope with this, my action was I created a weekly schedule in order to divide my time appropriately, and I also created internal deadlines for the rest of the team so we were all on track together. And the result was that the play went off successfully without a hitch, and we managed to sell out the 500 people venue.
Brilliant. And can you just blend that for me as well?
Yes. So during my time at university, I directed a play in my second year, and I had to balance the demands of the play with the demands of my studies. And I created a weekly schedule in order to divide my time appropriately, and internal deadlines and targets to keep the whole team on track. And the play went successfully, and we managed to sell out the venue.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kim. And that's a really good example of using not just your work, but also things you do in leisure time or things you've done at university or when you studied. You don't just have to come up with work examples. They can be from your life as well. The last example that I'd like to talk about is customer service experience. So can you give me an example of where you've demonstrated excellent customer service?
Of course. So the situation was I was managing a project in which I was implementing new systems in 15 different flats, and my task for this was that I had to organise and communicate with all the residents and all the contractors in order to make sure that everything was running smoothly. So my action was that I liaised with the engineers and the residents to coordinate times that worked for both of them and made sure that all complaints were dealt with prior to installation. And the result was that the systems were put in place with no issues or any complaints from any of the residents, and we met all the relevant deadlines.
Excellent. And can you blend that for me?
Yep. So I had to manage a project where I was implementing new systems for 15 different flats, and I had to organise and communicate with all the residents and contractors. So I liaised with the engineers and the residents through email and phone calls to coordinate times and make sure that everyone was happy and all complaints were dealt with prior to installation. And as a result, all the systems were put in place with no issues or complaints, and we met all the deadlines.
Thank you, Kim. That was a great example. And those are all live examples from our candidates who we've helped extrapolate their own work using the STAR technique. The other thing that Kim highlighted really beautifully there was using I, not we. Because at interview, during your workday, you want to be part of a team, very collaborative, everything's about we and about what we do together. But when you're at interview, it's all about you. So you must use I, and you must own responsibility for all your examples, because then there's no kind of weird thoughts going on in the interviewer's head that you haven't actually done some of the task. You've owned all of it. So then there's no problems. No problems? That's the wrong word. There's no... What's the word? Questions. That's the word. Questions.